rock painting. This is the new thing that everyone's going crazy about, painting rocks. Good thing about this is that it's basically a free hobby. You just have to go and get the rocks and buy the paint. These two were both done with enamel paints because they're intended for outside, but you can just use acrylic paint. This is the rock I'm going to be painting. I got this rock for free from a beach. Actually, my little nephews brought me a whole bucket of rocks from their recent beach trip, and I was so happy because they're so cute and they love me so much. So what I've decided I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this rock into a piece of pizza, because it reminds me of a piece of pizza. It's that sort of pizza shape. Sometimes I do scenes on rocks and sometimes I just paint pretty pictures, and today I'm doing a pretty picture. As I've said several times before, I am not the world's greatest painter, as you can clearly see from my rock friends back there. Excuse me. So yes, so we're just going to paint. We're going to paint the rock and hope for the best. So really, what we need for pizza is a sort of dough colour. And this is where I run into problems with things, because I am colourblind. And people always assume that means I can't see colours. I can see colours. It's just I don't see them the same way that everybody else sees them. Like, I never ever thought that Van Gogh paintings were interesting. I was always like, what's everyone raving about? They're just kind of boring pictures of like normal sunflowers. And then I read an article about how people like Van Gogh's paintings, or Van Gogh's paintings, because of the unusual colours and things. And I was like, they're just normal colours. What you're talking about? And in this article, it talked about how he may have been colourblind. And finally, things sort of started making sense. And they said in this article that because he may have been colourblind, he thought he was doing sort of normal painting of sunflowers, and what he was actually doing was something very different and unique. And so I'm basically seeing the paintings the way that he saw them, which is like just a bowl of sunflowers, nothing special. Yeah. So, yeah, I can see colours, it's just I see them differently to you. So for me, this is a perfect pizza colour for the dough. I'm sure this is dough. And no one's going to tell me otherwise, because I've mixed it now and I'm using it. And then you're just going to have to trust me on this. This is dough. This is what dough looks like. Colour blindness runs in my family. My father was colourblind. My cousin is colourblind. And we all have different types of colour blindness. Yet for some reason, when we redecorated my grandmother's living room, the two colourblind people, me and my cousin, were the ones sent out to buy the paint. Yeah, now you see, what we picked was what we thought was a sort of lavender grey. We thought, oh, that'll go really nicely with the furniture and with a carpet. And when we brought the tin home, everyone was sort of laughing at us and saying, what on earth are you two numpties bought? And we were like, oh, it's pretty colour. And everyone was like, no, not pretty colour. It turned out what we'd bought was a sort of deep plum. which we could not see on the tin at all. For us, it was lavender, and it wasn't until it was on the wall that we were able to see how dark it actually was. And then we were like, oh, we have made a mistake. So that usually happens. Texture can greatly affect the way that we see colours. So for me, I think this is a really good door colour. Like, I might want to lighten it very, very, very slightly, and I mean very slightly. But otherwise, I'm really quite happy. The reason I'm using acrylic paint instead of enamel paint, which is what I normally paint rocks with, is one, enamel paint takes 8 hours to dry, which is a huge pain in the patootie. And two, acrylic paint dries in about 5 minutes. So it's a bit more convenient if you're doing it for a video. So this is my base coat. My base coat. Yeah, because the rock is very dark, I think we're going to have to do a second coat of this, a lighter coat. So I'll put some more. Which colour is this? Ochre. See, for me, this is brown. This is just brown. I don't know if it's brown for everyone. It says yellow ochre on the tube, but I just can't trust things. I often have to ask. It's so embarrassing. I go into boys and want to buy felt, and then I have to ask, like, the people, is this brown? Is this red? Is this blue? See, you, for some reason, now you're getting a lecture on colour blindness. The kind of colour blindness I have is called red cone deficiency, and what that means is that I have trouble with colours within the red spectrum. So I can see green perfectly fine because there's no red in green. I can, if something is blue, I will see it blue. If something is yellow, I will see it yellow. If something is red, I will see it red. However, if something is brown, or if something is purple, or if something is orange, that's where I run into trouble. So trying to get these sort of sandy, doughy colours is not particularly something I am good at. And in case you're wondering why I'm painting the whole thing, when obviously I'm going to paint like cheese and other stuff on it, it's to give it a base coat. It's so that when I'm painting the cheese, I don't have to do 18 million layers of yellow. I can just do one. And also, I'm going to do this, you know, along the sides as well. I'm going to do the tomato sauce. So I wanted the door to be all the way down. Just like this. And yes, for a colourblind person, I do know a lot about colour theory. Because I don't know why. I think all colours just interest me, just because I don't see them the same way everyone else does. If you're a lady, it's very unusual to be colourblind. You can only be colourblind if you're a lady, if your father is colourblind. It's the only way. And your mother has to be a carrier. But if your father's not colourblind, you're not colourblind if you're a girl, basically. A good way of paternity testing things, I suppose. Should really tell Jeremy Kyle about that. Right. Whoops. I just knocked my vape off the table. Yeah, I'm quite happy with that. So What next? Tomato sauce? Tomato sauce? Or cheese? Tomato, I think, because I'm thinking of doing pepperoni. No, because there aren't, no, yeah. No, if I do cheese first, then I do the pepperoni and sauce around. And yet my paint palette is not particularly clean. I'm just lazy. Just lazy. I'm going to put a little bit of the okra into this. Oh, that's probably too much. That was probably a mistake. I should have put some orange really into it. Yeah, that was a mistake. Yeah, it's too brown now. It's not cheesy enough. Yeah, need yellow. Put some yellow in. Doop. What I really want is some like empty pots that I can then seal when I'm done, so like I don't waste the paint. But I don't know, I'm finding it hard to find them on eBay. Does this look cheesy? It looks cheesy to me, like Monterey Jack, which you cannot find in this country for love nor money. Well, I suppose you could probably find it for money if you knew where to look, or maybe if you lived near a Waitrose, which we don't have in the north. So we're painting the cheese on. I think this will need 2 coats. And I've left a significant gap there. I'm going to cough. Excuse me. Because I want to put a bit of tomato sauce between the cheese and the crust. And we're definitely going to need another layer on here. Cool. But I'm definitely going to have to let this dry for a few minutes first. So I'll be back. All right, we're back. I've got a bit of paint transference on my fingers from the crust where I've been holding it, because I've just been really impatient and really not giving this sufficient time to dry. But I'm quite happy with how this is looking so far. Cheese and crust. So we're just gonna set this down. I'm gonna do the tomato sauce. Now, I always have trouble with red. I really struggle with reds and browns. So let's hope I can get the right kind of red that I want. Okay, so I quite like this red, this crimson red. Move the petals around, and we're going to put just a couple of dollops in there. I may have discussed this on another video, but if you want blood red, if you want a darken red, do not add black. Black is the worst colour you can add to red to darken it. You should add blue, and only a tiny amount. And if you're wanting a deeper sort of rusticy red, you want to add brown. And again, not a large amount, just a very small amount. Just to change the colour slightly. I think I can afford to put a little more in there. Dollop. Let's get that mixed. So for me, I'm quite happy with that red. I think that looks very tomato saucy. Cool, right, that's ready to paint as soon as that yellow is dry. So all I did to speed up that drying process was to hit it with a hairdryer for a few minutes, and that was done. So now we're going to do the cheese sauce. So there's always a bit here of cheese sauce. We're just going to stipple the brush just along here. As I said, not the greatest painter in the world. I didn't do art at GCSE. In fact, I stopped doing art at year 10 when we did our options. So art wasn't a requirement, and my art teacher breathed a giant sigh of relief because he always thought I was terrible. And to be fair, he wasn't wrong. But it was his fault. Because art lessons weren't about teaching us to draw. They were just, here is a picture. I want you to draw this picture. And it wasn't actually about teaching us how to draw things. So, I only really learned how to draw things as an adult. I'm not the greatest artist. I like some of the stuff I draw and paint, and I enjoy painting. I find it very relaxing, very therapeutic. Just because you're not good at something doesn't mean that you shouldn't pursue it as a hobby. Though, you know, maybe not professionally. I'm sure there are lots of people out there who love singing, and if you love singing as a hobby, you should absolutely 100% pursue it as a hobby, and don't embarrass yourself on the X Factor, because really, do you need that on YouTube for the rest of your life? Cool, right, so that's this cheese sauce. And now I think we're going to do some pepperoni on this. I was just considering whether or not to trace something and use it as a guide, but can't be bothered. Not required doing work. There's one slice of pepperoni. We'll do a few. There's another. And there is another. What do we think? What do you think of our pepperoni pizza rock? I'm thinking these need to be slightly bigger. Just slightly. Not too much. There we go. And I think we need a little more cheese. So luckily we have plenty of the cheese left over, and what I'm going to do is make this goopy. The reason for why is so that when this dries, it'll have that texture to it, and it won't look like brush strokes, and it will hopefully retain a little goopiness. Well, not the wet goopiness, but the shape of the goopy, and then it will look a bit more like cheese. Cheese grommet. There we go. I'm quite happy with how this has turned out. There we go. Oh, so cheesy pepperoni pizza. That's cool. And just to remind you, the original rock colour was this. So that is that in its transformation. So the idea of your painted rocks is you can either keep them or you can register them on one of several websites, and it gets a reg number, and you write on the back what the number is and which website it's registered in, and you leave it somewhere for someone to find, and they can look that up on the internet and find out where the rock went, and then like re-hide it if they want to. Like my nephew's found a couple of them and he's really into it. So yeah, there's our pizza rock. And thank you very much for watching this episode. I hope you learned something, or at least found something interesting. Please consider liking and subscribing, and I'll see you again next time.